Happy Friday, writers. Today you're going to need your pencil, highlighter, glue stick, your writing notebook, and your green ELA resource folder. This is in your anchor binder. Remember, don't take the folder out. Keep it inside your anchor binder. Just go ahead and open it up. On the right side, you're going to be taking out some of our writing resources. In the section for your teach pages, you're going to take out the first 2 pages. The first one is a small sheet that says sentence fragments and run-ons. The second sheet you're going to need just says fragments. Then put the rest of the teach pages back in the pocket. Take out your practice pages. We are going to take out the next 2 pages. They're both focusing on fragments. So one just says fragments. The other one is telling the difference between complete sentences or fragments. Then you can put the rest of the the practice pages behind your teach pages. Close your green folder that's still in your binder, and then put that in your basket so you can have it for the next time. In your notebook, we're going to go ahead and open up to yesterday's lesson, which we were focusing on our complete sentences. So we reviewed that a complete sentence has to have 3 items in it. The capital letter at the beginning of the sentence, ending with a punctuation mark, and it has to have a subject with a predicate. The subject is who is the sentence about, and the predicate is what they are doing. So we have a verb that we look for to help us understand what the subject is doing. So today we're going to be turning the next page. Make sure that you're not skipping pages, because then you'll run out of room in your notebook and you don't want to do that. So we're going to be inserting on page 18. So if you would go ahead, turn to the table of contents. Remember that you may pause at any time to get yourself caught up and stay organized. So for number 18, we're going to be working on fragments. And then you can put today's date, which is 9-11-20. Then turn back to where we just labeled page 18. We have 2 pages that we had taken out for our teach pages. You're going to have the small one that you're going to be gluing at the top of the left side page, and then the right one that looks like the broken heart, you're going to glue that to the right side. So get your glue stick out. Turn it over. Make sure you put enough of the glue stick on to keep it nice and secure. Do your X through the middle. Remember, it needs to be attached at the top, because we're going to be using some of the lines of the notebook page to write some examples. And on the right side, turn that one over. Spread your glue stick out. And then go ahead and make sure that's nice and smooth. So we're going to be starting on the left side. So yesterday we talked about the components to make a complete sentence. And today and Monday we're going to be talking about ways that sentences are not complete. So we saw what is a complete sentence. Now we're looking at what is not, and then how can we fix it. So today we're going to be focusing on what we call a fragment or a piece. So when we look at the definition, we're going to use our highlighter that we had out to highlight where it says sentence fragment. And a sentence fragment is an incomplete sentence. So we're going to use our pencil to underline those 2 words, incomplete sentence, that is missing the subject or the verb. So let's box the word missing. So a fragment means it's missing something. And it doesn't matter which one of these 2 items is missing, it means it's not complete. So we know the subject would be the who, and the verb would be the indicator of the predicate. So one of the 2 items is missing. So we're going to give an example of what a possible subject could be. So write the word subject and underline it. Then we're going to write the dog. And if we left this alone and just gave our reader the words the dog, well, that wouldn't be considered a complete sentence, because we know who the sentence should be about, but we have no idea what the dog is doing, so we need to add the predicate. So the predicate example could be going to the beach. And the predicate on its own would just give us the verb going to the beach. So if I were just given the words going to the beach, I wouldn't know who is going to the beach. So if we're left with just the subject by itself or just the predicate by itself, we consider that a fragmented sentence. It's an incomplete sentence. Something that we'll be talking about in detail on Monday is what we call a run-on sentence, and we're just previewing that right now. So a run-on sentence is the opposite. It's combining at least two or more sentences without using something called a conjunction or a semicolon. So we're going to underline where it says at least two, and then we're going to underline again where it says more sentences and box the word without. So we're combining too much information within one complete sentence. So they're telling us that we've really combined two or more sentences without using these two things that will make it a complete sentence instead. So we'll be talking about what is a conjunction, or how can we use a semicolon within our sentence instead. So we're going to write an example of when our sentence contains too much information. So we're going to say, I love ice cream. I also love chocolate cake. So we're given at least two sentences without using a conjunction or a semicolon to connect those two thoughts. So underneath, we're going to make correct sentences of the information above. So we're going to write the title, Correct Sentences, to show how we can mend those broken sentences that we have in that teach part. So the first one, if we were just given the subject of the dog, we could start the sentence with the who or the subject, and then we could also create a new predicate to make it complete. So we could say the dog ran across the street, period. So we then look to see if it has the three components of a complete sentence: a capital letter, it has a punctuation mark, and it has the subject with the predicate. A second complete sentence we could make out of our fragmented part. So if we were just given the predicate of going to the beach, well, now I can create the who or what the subject is going to be about. So the subject area. So maybe we want to use the who of my family and add it to that incomplete sentence or that fragment, going to the beach. My family, and I need to put my linking verb in there, is going to the beach, period. And we check for the components of a complete sentence: a capital letter, punctuation mark, and we have the subject of my family and the predicate of what my family's doing, and they're going to the beach. The last one that we were previewing today for Monday's lesson is that run-on sentence, where we were given at least two sentences together without having any kind of break to connect them. So we could then maybe change and fix that one to say, I love ice cream, and I'm going to underline that because this is going to be one of the conjunctions of the word fanboy that we're going to learn on Monday. So a connecting word. I love ice cream and chocolate cake. So I'm able to combine two or more thoughts using that conjunction. On the right-hand side, we're going to define what a fragment is again. And we can say a fragment is a group of words missing a subject or predicate it is an incomplete sentence. So we have some examples that we're going to try to fix. So the first section is giving us the predicate, and they're missing a subject. So in order to make it a complete sentence, we need to add a subject to each of those predicates given. So the predicate that was given was wagging his tail. Well, to find a subject that makes sense, we could use an animal such as a dog, because Mrs. Ling loves dogs, I have one. So I can say, or even a specific name, a proper noun. So I'm gonna use my dog's name, Gabby. So you can use your dog's name if you have one, or your cat's name, that's okay. So Gabby, that's my subject I inserted, and then I use the predicate, was wagging. And because she's a girl, I'm gonna just change that pronoun to her tail, period. So it has a capital, punctuation, and now it has a subject with predicate. The second one, the predicate that was given is racing down the street. So, well, we could figure out, maybe we could use an item. Maybe it's going to be the bike or skateboard or car or something to that effect. So this time I'm going to put the skateboard raced down the street. So I'm going to add the subject, the skateboard, and use the predicate given, raced, which is the verb, down the street. And once again, we check for a capital letter at the beginning, punctuation mark. It now has a subject and the predicate. The next one is the predicate, found a lucky 4-leaf clover. Well, we can add a subject to this to make it make sense. So I'm going to add the subject I. So I'm going to put I and then add the predicate, found a lucky 4-leaf clover. Capital letter, punctuation mark, subject, and now the predicate. So we were able to make or mend our sentences. The next one, it's now missing the predicate or the verb with what our subject is doing. So they're giving us subjects. We need to then add what those subjects are doing to make it a complete sentence. So the first subject they gave us is a graceful dancer. So we're going to start with a graceful dancer, and we're going to add the predicate, performed on stage. So I check, I have a capital, punctuation mark, my subject, and predicate. The next one is our bowling lane. So making sure that this is my focus of our sentence, we can say our bowling lane was occupied by a different group. So this one, you need to make sure that you understand that our bowling lane is the focus. It's not the different group, because this is telling us about the bowling lane. So we have a capital, punctuation mark, we have the subject and the predicate. The last one is a subject of the scorching sun. So we're going to use that as the subject. So we're going to write the scorching sun. Made my skin burn. So we added that predicate, made my skin burn. So we have a capital, we have the punctuation, and now it's complete because of the subject and predicate. Before we start our classwork practice, you can use a crayon to quickly shade in some of those illustrations that are on your page to make them a little bit more visually appealing. So if you want to take a moment and color in your heart, You can also color in the nurse and the Band-Aid on the opposite side. And then we're going to start our practice. So I'm gonna finish this after the video, but you can finish yours and then get to your classwork. So I'm gonna explain the classwork so you understand what they're asking you to do. So the first page, the page that says just the word fragments, the directions say to make the following fragments into complete sentences. So this is like what we just did on this right side page. So it's saying that these are going to be either going to be your predicate and it's missing a subject, or it's a subject missing a predicate. So you have to think of, is this a who or is this the what? And then you have to fill in the missing part. So for number 1, it says started a project. Well, that's not telling me who, so I'm going to add the subject to this one. So I might say, my mom, and then use the predicate, started a project. And then make sure you have your period. So you always need to double check the other capital, punctuation. Now we have a subject and a predicate. So continue reading the information that they've given you. Decide, did they give me the subject or predicate, and then what is missing, and then make the correction to show the completed sentence. The second page is now asking you to tell or identify whether or not something's complete or a fragment. So it says to read each group of words below and then circle. Make sure that you're reading that carefully. You're going to circle either the word sentence if it is a complete sentence, or circle the word fragment if it's missing a subject or predicate. So for number 1, we see the statement, ride the bicycle. Well, we have to think, do we know who is riding the bicycle? The sentence doesn't provide us a subject, so number 1 is considered a fragment. The second one says, we took our dog for a walk. We know the who, that is the word we, and we know what we are doing, which is taking the dog for a walk. So this would be considered a sentence if there was a capital and punctuation mark. So read the remaining statements to decide, did they give me a who and a what? If they did, circle the word sentence. If they're missing the who or the what, circle the word fragment. Today, you're going to take a picture of your completed teach pages, that's both sides, and submit both of your classwork practice pages.